Commander Zexhai raised his scaled hand, signaling the hunting party to halt. Through the dense purple undergrowth of Kithara Prime, the thermal readings were clear. 3 life forms huddled together in the ancient cave system ahead. The Vraxian hunting party had tracked the legendary Shadow Maw for 3 cycles, following a trail of devastation that had claimed an entire settlement. "Readings confirm it," whispered Scout Nixara, her 4 eyes scanning the portable scanner. "1 large, predator signature, and 2 smaller ones, the cubs we detected earlier." Zexhai's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The Shadow Maw was Kithara's apex predator, a creature of nightmare that stood 12 feet tall, armed with retractable claws that could slice through reinforced steel and camouflage abilities that made it nearly invisible. Taking down a breeding pair would earn them legend status among the Vraxian clans. "Remember the briefing?" Zexhai sub-vocalized through their comm implants. "Shadow Maws are cunning. They've never been taken alive. Approach with maximum caution." The hunting party crept forward, their advanced weaponry humming with contained energy. As they reached the cave mouth, Nixara's scanner began displaying anomalous readings. "Commander," she whispered, confusion evident in her voice. "The large signature? It's not moving. At all. And there's something else." Before Zexhai could respond, a soft sound echoed from within the cave, not the growl of a predator, but something far more unsettling. It sounded almost like singing? The Vraxians exchanged glances. In all their extensive xenobiology databases, no mention existed of Shadow Maws producing melodic vocalizations. Zexhai activated his helmet's low-light vision and peered into the cave. What he saw defied every natural law he understood. A human, one of those strange bipedal creatures from the recently contacted Sol system, sat cross-legged in the center of the cave. The being appeared to be sleeping peacefully, leaning against what could only be described as the largest Shadow Maw ever recorded. But the predator wasn't stalking or feeding. It was dead. More impossibly, 2 Shadow Maw cubs, each the size of a grown Vraxian, were curled up against the human, their usually jet-black fur showing unusual golden patches. They too seemed to be sleeping, their breathing synchronized with the human's. Gentle snores. "By the 7 moons," breathed Nixara. "How is this possible?" Zexhai slowly activated his universal translator and stepped into the cave, his weapon lowered but ready. The movement caused the human to stir. Blue eyes opened and focused on the hunting party with surprising calm. "Oh," the human said, stretching and carefully avoiding disturbing the cubs. "You must be the locals. Sorry about the mess." He gestured toward the massive Shadow Maw carcass. You killed a Shadow Maw?" Zexhai managed to ask. The human, who appeared remarkably unremarkable by his species' standards, shrugged. "It was attacking these little ones. I couldn't just let that happen." "Little ones?" Nixara stepped forward, her scanner still registering the cubs as apex predators. "Those are Shadow Maw juveniles. They're among the most dangerous creatures on this planet." The human looked down at the cubs, one of which had begun to stir at the sound of voices. When it opened eyes that glowed like amber stars, instead of showing aggression, it made a sound almost like purring and nuzzled against the human's leg. "Dangerous?" The human gently scratched behind what Zexhai assumed were the creature's ears. "These 2? They're just babies. Lost their mother to some kind of infection, and their father went mad with grief, kept trying to attack them." The human stood slowly, and both cubs immediately moved to flank him protectively. Zexhai noticed that the golden patches in their fur seemed to pulse with a faint bioluminescence he'd never seen documented. "I had to put the father down," the human continued matter-of-factly. "Couldn't let him hurt them. Been taking care of them for about a week now. They're actually quite intelligent once you get past the whole apex predator thing." "A week?" Zexhai's voice cracked. You've been living in a shadow maw den for a week? Well, it's not exactly luxury accommodation, but it beats sleeping in the rain. The human smiled, a facial expression that somehow conveyed warmth despite showing his omnivorous teeth. Plus, these two needed someone. They're not ready to survive on their own yet. One of the cubs approached Zexhai cautiously. Instead of the predatory stance he expected, it exhibited what could only be described as curiosity, tilting its head in an almost domesticated manner. "Impossible," whispered Nixara. "Our xenobiology experts classified shadow maws as completely untamable. Their neural structure doesn't allow for pack bonding with non-shadow maw species." The human knelt, and both cubs immediately flanked him, their earlier alertness replaced by obvious affection. "Maybe your experts never tried just being kind to them?" "Kind?" Zexhai lowered his weapon entirely. "These creatures have terrorized our colonies for generations. They're killing machines." "So are we," the human replied simply. "Doesn't mean we can't choose to be something else." As if to demonstrate his point, the human pulled what appeared to be dried meat from his pack and offered it to both cubs, who accepted the food with gentle precision, careful not to harm him with their razor-sharp teeth. "What's your designation, human?" Zexhai asked. Marcus Chen, agricultural specialist, believe it or not. I was conducting soil surveys when I stumbled across this family drama." "Agricultural specialist?" Nixara's 4 eyes widened. "You have no combat training?" Marcus shrugged again. "Does growing up on a farm count? You learn to handle difficult animals." "These aren't animals," Zexhai protested. "They're apex predators." "Everything's an animal if you know how to listen to it," Marcus replied, gently stroking one cub's flank. These two just needed someone to show them they weren't alone. The hunting party watched in fascination as both cubs began to exhibit the golden bioluminescence more prominently, their fur seeming to respond to Marcus's presence. "The golden markings," Nixara whispered, scanning frantically. "They're not just coloration. It's some kind of symbiotic adaptation. My readings suggest enhanced intelligence, increased empathy responses." "They're evolving," Zexhai realized. "Contact with your species is somehow accelerating their development." Marcus looked surprised. "Evolving? I just thought they were smart kids." One of the cubs approached Zexhai again, this time without any trace of predatory behavior. When it gently touched his armored leg with its nose, Zexhai felt something he'd never experienced, a sense of connection, of understanding. "This changes everything," he breathed. Marcus nodded, gathering his simple pack. "Usually does. You here to help? Or should I keep looking for somewhere safe to raise them?" Zexhai looked at his hunting party, then at the impossible scene before him, a human who had turned apex predators into family, who had faced down a legendary killer to protect cubs that weren't even his own species. "We're here to help," he said finally. "But I think we're the ones who might learn something." As they prepared to escort Marcus and his unlikely family back to civilization, Nixara muttered to herself, "First contact protocols never covered this scenario." Marcus overheard and grinned. "Humans rarely fit the protocols. We prefer making friends to making rules." The cubs, seeming to sense their approval, began to purr in harmony, a sound that resonated through the cave like a promise of a different future. Zexhai realized that today hadn't just changed everything for the cubs, it had changed everything for them all.